So we grow it outside on organic fields. And the reason for that is that you actually end up with 48% more chlorophyll. So it's simply much, much darker green. The darker green, the more chlorophyll. And that's because the sun can come to it. It grows much, much slower. Also, it has about 30% more antioxidants. So the roots go right into this amazing organic soil, and then it takes up all the nutrients, all the minerals, and so on. And in that whole process of absorbing the light, the natural sunlight, you get many more nutrients, and you don't get the sugars because it has time to convert those sugars to natural nutrients.
You are listening to the DrHaley Show, the podcast dedicated to helping you optimize your health. Each episode, there will be an interview or a message to help you discover better health. We will be featuring health radicals on the show to bring new ideas to the table, as well as doubling down on key fundamentals to support you living your best life. Your host is no other than the founder of Haley Nutrition, Dr. Michael Haley.
This is the Dr. Haley Show podcast. I'm Dr. Michael Haley, show host, and today's guest is Dr. Britt Cordi, author of Nurturing Wellbeing, A Juicy Path to Cancer Prevention, and founder of Britt's Superfoods at britsuperfoods.co.uk in the United Kingdom or britsuperfoods.com in the US. Dr. Britt is a passionate advocate for natural health and well-being. She has a background in molecular biology and nature conservation. Dr. Britt discovered the power of fresh, organic wheatgrass and other superfood juices to transform health. She's on a mission to help others feel energized, nourished, and empowered naturally. Dr. Cordi, thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I'm going to say something that I hear every podcast start with, and I make sure I don't say this, but now I'm going to, because I'm excited about today's podcast. It's like such an overused statement, but this really applies today. I'm not even sure if you know why, because I invited you to be on my podcast. I don't know what you know about me or my company. We have very similar businesses, and they're challenging businesses because it's more like, well, it's a mission. We're on a mission to help people. We're going the extra mile. And the best way I could put it, have you ever seen the show Shark Tank?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. If someone approaches them for an investment in the frozen food industry, it's an automatic no. It just is. I won't go anywhere near that. We have our challenges, and I noticed that even now, at this time, you're not shipping to the United States.
We used to.
Correct?
Before COVID. We
Yes.
used to ship to America all the time. But during COVID, and actually UPS and FedEx, they just made it absolutely impossible after. And I don't really know why, because it used to be extremely easy. Next day delivery, very easy. It's just not anymore.
Yeah, I've had some crazy challenges shipping in the United States, and I discontinued for the time shipping to Canada because the carriers just aren't as reliable as they used to be. So, and yes, it was about that time, and they went through some labor changes, and I don't know if people got lazy or what happened.
Yeah.
But that's another podcast, I guess. So you're doing all kinds of superfoods, frozen, shipped directly to customers, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We do that. Yeah. So, and the reason why we ship frozen is because then it's really like fresh. You haven't lost any of the nutrients. You haven't lost any of the enzymes. It's like a live food. Whereas once you dry it, it's like a dry powderized apple. It's not the same as fresh, or whichever way you sort of preserve it, it's no longer the fresh live product. And that's why we do it.
Yeah, I like to tell people there's like good, better, and best. And it's not that we're saying the powders are of no value. because, if you're doing some supplementation with powders because that's all you have available to you,
Sure.
the better would be frozen, fresh frozen. And, really the best would be to harvest it yourself and juice it yourself. The problem is no one can really do that. They don't have enough farming land to do that for all the superfoods that they want to have in their life. I've noticed, like we're in the aloe vera business, and it's hand filleted, run through a grinder, turned into something that they could drink, put into containers that are put into the freezer. That's it. No
Mm.
pasteurization, no preservatives, just frozen raw aloe vera gel. What you said about the enzymes, we noticed to be very, very true. Meaning, aloe, for instance, has these mucopolysaccharides, and they're thick and gelatinous. And the enzymes that are naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables and plants will digest those mucopolysaccharides. And we can slow it down, not even stop it. We can
Mm.
slow it down by freezing it. And I've noticed that if I put something in the freezer and take it out a year later, like aloe vera gel, it will thin over that year. There will still be mucopolysaccharides intact, but it'll be thinner. The longer
Yeah.
it's in the freezer, the more it thins. And that's them being digested by the enzymes.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. In the freezing process, you're slowing down all the chemical reactions, all the processes, but you're not stopping them. To stop them, you would have to go to, literally the physiological zero of the universe, obviously. But certainly when you're freezing things, you really slow it down. And so, but also, most importantly, is that actually the enzymes, the very fragile enzymes, which are literally like, you go walk into a darkened room and you switch on the switch to get the light. That's actually what enzymes do in your body to all of the different reactions in your body. You switch them on by having these enzymes. So for example, a lipase is the enzyme that will help break down fats, or a protease is the enzyme that will help break down the protein so you can utilize the protein in the body. And you need these enzymes for all these things. And by freezing it, you are preserving them. When you are powderizing, or for example, when we cook, boil, fry our food, we are destroying the enzymes, these very fragile enzymes that you actually need in your body. And so that's why we do that process. And it absolutely is the way forward. But you're right, it doesn't mean that the other kind of products are, or powders are not good. Of course, they're great and they're good. But as you say, there's good, better, and best. And that's, I guess, is what this is about.
Yeah. I would say there's a big, big difference. And if all you can do is the good, well, that's better than going to the fast food restaurants and, you
Absolutely.
do what you can these days. When it comes to the freezing, though, that's why we kind of put a limit on it. We say up to a year, 6 months really would be ideal. Where do you kind of draw the line on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've done our research. Obviously, this is kind of the strength of the company, with my background into science and publishing scientific articles and so on. So we've done research with independent universities, and actually the product is intact and hasn't changed up to even 2.5 years in the freezer. We do say, though, a year. But ours is obviously being sold immediately when it's being produced. So we don't have that issue. But yeah, actually, strictly speaking, as long as you have it in the freezer, it is actually as fresh up to 2.5 years later, as long as you don't thaw it up. The
Wow.
moment you thaw up the juice or the product, then the whole chemical reaction start, and then you want to drink it as soon as you've thawed it up.
I agree with that. And I've told people if you need to thaw it and break it into smaller containers and refreeze, you're going to be okay. The total thaw time seems to be the problem. I don't know if you can get away with that with everything. For us, aloe vera changes very slowly. So we can get 7 to 10 days in the refrigerator before it's really breaking down. It's not superfood for bacteria. It doesn't ferment like grape juice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that you would want to
With
ferment it. It
ours,
doesn't
I'd
taste good
see
when it.
as soon as you have thought it up, you really want to drink it because the enzyme activity decreases within actually just a few hours. So when you've thought it up, you want to drink it and then get the maximum out of it. Obviously, you can keep it in the fridge up to 2-3 days. It will still be fresh. You will have the nutrients, but you won't have the enzyme activity.
Yeah, yeah. Now, one thing that I love about our products, in fact, there are two of them that are very, very popular at a place called Hippocrates Health Institute. We have one here in Florida. I think there's another one
Yes.
in California, but
Yeah.
they love aloe vera and they love wheatgrass juice.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever put those two together. To
This is
me, yeah, I love wheatgrass juice by itself, but I also love combining it with aloe vera. Aloe can have a slightly bitter taste, and wheatgrass juice can have a slightly sweet taste. It can also have a little bitter taste depending on what kind of wheatgrass you have, but they seem to complement each other almost like lemonade, like sweet and sour. And
yeah. Yeah.
the color of wheatgrass juice, the vibrant green, which
Yeah.
just says,
It's
I'm
quite
full of
something.
life.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite
it's
something.
beautiful. Probably my favorite color.
Yeah, I mean, they say, I mean, if there is one color that would symbolize health, it would be green every time. And obviously, the green color actually in the plants comes from chlorophyll. So that is where photosynthesis happen, which means it's where the plant actually produces oxygen. So it takes light from the sun and converts it into energy and into oxygen. And so it is also one of the absolute oldest molecules on the planet because without chlorophyll, we wouldn't have oxygen. And without oxygen, we wouldn't have life on the planet. So, and it's what you call green blood, actually. And the reason why it's called green blood is that right down to the actually cellular level or the molecular level, the two are actually this very, very similar. So hemoglobin, the red bloods in our, the red blood cells in our body, and the green photosynthesis or the green chlorophyll in the plants are so similar that actually the only difference is the central molecule in our red blood is iron, and in the chlorophyll is magnesium. So that's why it's called green blood, and it helps blood. It detoxifies, it cleanses blood, it builds blood.
I knew about the hemoglobin and the iron, but I didn't realize it was the magnesium. You said magnesium.
Yes, so the
Interesting.
central molecule in the green color in the plants in the chlorophyll is magnesium, and that's and magnesium is one of two most important minerals in the body. Together with calcium, magnesium is responsible for over 300 reactions in the body, right from brain activity, concentration to quality of sleep to, of course, regeneration of muscle after sport. Mental stability. It's involved in so many things. So it's so important that we get enough magnesium.
I recorded a podcast yesterday, and I believe my guest said that the first supplement he would recommend to everyone was magnesium.
Mm,
I'm going to have to
yes.
check back. Now, by the time people are hearing this, if they heard the podcast that came out the week before, they can fact check me. I'll have to have another listen, but I'm pretty sure that was the number one recommendation was magnesium. And here it is in the chlorophyll in the wheatgrass juice. Now, briefly, I want to depart from wheatgrass juice just for a minute and then come back to it. We only have so much time, and I want to talk about wheatgrass juice. But what are some of the other superfoods that you have on your website that people are getting from you?
Yeah, so we specialize in superfoods, and a superfood is really what we would also call a vitamin food, which is actually kind of the old word for it. It's a natural food that just happens to have a unusual amount of natural nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and enzymes. And so what it means is if you have a superfood, you don't need to take very much of it. So for example, with the wheatgrass, just literally just one shot, which is this 1 ounce of this is equivalent to 3 heads of broccoli in nutritional value. So that's a superfood. Another superfood is pomegranate, and we have a product where we also have aloe vera in, and our pomegranate product is also with red grape. It has goji berries, it has matcha tea, and it has aloe vera. That product is, because of the nutrients, the very high level of vitamins and minerals, it's very good for energy, for skin, for regeneration of cells in the body. We all need new cells in the body all the time. And so all of these sort of superfoods are amazingly healthy because of this very high nutritional value that they contain.
Well said. And people will use superfoods sometimes for their more than food strength, physiological, benefits, the metabolism benefits that they'll get from the superfoods. It's something that you can actually often feel and notice a difference when you consume them.
You enjoying the show thus far? One of the many health secrets that we have covered on the show is all around aloe vera, specifically drinking raw aloe vera. Our aloe vera has helped our customers effectively heal their gut, increase their intestine health, lower inflammation in the body, eliminate and or decrease acid reflux, have glowing skin and hair, and so much more. Now, as a frequent member of our audience, you will be exposed to exclusive specials and coupon codes for the awesome products manufactured by DrHaley Nutrition. That's right, for simply being awesome and tuning in. You can get a mini discount to help you optimize and better your health. To see how we can help and support you on your health journey, tune into the episodes and listen for coupon codes that you can use at www.DrHaleyNutrition.com before you make your orders of raw aloe vera. Once again, it's www.DrHaleyNutrition.com. Now, back to the show.
Tell us about yourself and how you got into the superfoods and how you realized they were so beneficial.
Yeah, so I have a personal health journey, and I was, as a baby and as a young child and as a teenager, I had great problems with eczema. I had eczema and skin condition all over my body, and it was really quite bad. And my parents were going to all sorts of doctors and nurses and wise women and wise men and all these sort of things, nutritionists, to try and understand what to do about it. At that time, which is quite a long time ago, people didn't really know the connection between what you eat and your digestion and your skin. That wasn't really known at that time. Now people know that much more. They understand that actually what I eat will have an impact on my skin, on my digestion, on my energy, my concentration, and these sort of things. But at that time it didn't. So I really struggled with eczema for such a long time. And it actually impacted even my professional career, because I couldn't really go into hospitals and work there because of the condition and so on. And then I found Wheatgrass Juice, and it was a friend that introduced me to it. And the moment I saw that really green color, I really fell in love with it. I thought, wow, I'm going to do that. And I read very quickly about it. There's amazing books about the benefits and the science behind it, because it's not new. It was discovered in the 1940s in the US by a Dr. Schnabel, and later on in the 60s by Ann Wigmore, who established the Hippocrates Center that you talked about, the Hippocrates Institute. And when I started taking it, it didn't take long, a few months, and then my skin really began to improve. And I've never looked back. And I've taken it there for literally since I was 18 years old. But about 16 years ago, when I started the company, I had a friend with breast cancer, and my parents were getting a bit older, and I was taking this amazing stuff myself, which is just beautiful and gave me all this energy and so on. And I was really frustrated that I couldn't offer it. And that's actually how I started the company. I just got this inspiration. I already had my PhD, my science background. So the moment that I kind of got that inspiration, listen, I should do this. It didn't take me very long to actually set it up and start it and develop the processes and so on. And I've never looked back, and I love it. I have my own podcast, and I was just talking to one of our customers who've been with us for 14 years. I just talked to him and his wife yesterday about how we had supported their health, and particularly she had a really severe chronic condition, and it was absolutely wonderful to see her there, and how healthy and vibrant she is, and he also, and they are in their early 80s now. So this is really a long time that they have been taking the wheatgrass juice and how it's helped them, but also our other superfood juices. We have another one with ginger and turmeric and apple. And for people who look into this, ginger and turmeric are obviously ancient remedies from the Far East and from China. Has been used for thousands of years, actually. And these sorts of things is good to incorporate into health for our digestion, for our energy, for our immune system, and so on.
My daughter is 16 years old, and one of her favorite recipes, and it's funny, I saw her drinking this stuff. I said, "What is that?" And, well, I drink this for my skin. Well, what's in it? She started telling me, and I made sure that she actually took time to make it with me. And I brought home a big box of ginger root and turmeric, and she, blended it up, and then she would run it through a strainer. I actually changed the way she does it using the juicer with the ginger and the turmeric. And but then she added garlic and pepper, lemon juice, and apple cider vinegar.
Yeah,
And she
wow.
would drink that a little shot every day because it keeps her skin complexion, at 16 years old. We've all been there and maybe had our challenges with acne. And you're told that there's nothing you can do about that. Acne is just a fact of life at 16 years old. Not true. They're being put on antibiotics for this to try to control the acne. She
Yes.
is drinking her version of like a fire cider
Yeah.
and getting results and seeing it in her skin. She also drinks the aloe every day. But she thinks that her fire cider little mix there is what's doing it. It's not fire cider. That's what my wife and I make and
That's a
drink
nice
every
word
day.
for it, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I think the point
Yeah.
is there's obviously medication is important to take when needed, but there is so much we can do to prevent needing medication. There's so much we can do to strengthen ourselves, to improve our energy levels, our concentration, our digestion, and of course our skin health, simply by taking products that contain high levels of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, because we are like a house built of bricks. That is what we are in a sense. And the moment you have a brick that cracks, you no longer have a strong house that you can live in. And it's the same with our bodies. Our building blocks are the nutrients. So that is the vitamins and the minerals and so on. And when we start lacking that, our bodies will break down. So a good example is you ask yourself, why do I need vitamin A? What's that? I know about vitamins, but why do I really need vitamin A? Well, that's a really good example of that is a precursor for T cells. And T cells in the body are called killer cells. That is a really important part of the immune system. So the killer cells, they scoop around in your body and pick up those cells that are no longer healthy in your body. And if you've got unhealthy cells in the body, you want to take them out as quickly as possible because you don't want them to replicate. Because if unhealthy cells begin to grow, it turns into all sorts of nasties, including cancer. And the T cells, these naturally occurring cells in the body as part of the immune system, will come in and will take up and disintegrate those unhealthy cells. This is why they're called killer cells. But you need vitamin A to produce them. This is the one example of why vitamins, for example, are important in our body and for our health.
That's good. So that's a great example. You're talking about the building blocks, and we get them from our nutrients. It's also supported by the line after the title of your book. It was a juicy way to prevent
Yeah.
cancer or something
Yes.
like that,
Yes.
which I think is brilliant. And it's true because when you have the nutritional support for your immune system, things are
Yeah.
going to work better. When you
Yeah.
get to a point where you need medicine,
Yeah.
okay, medicine is there to buy time while you get rid of the cause and fix the problem. And it's time to start juicing up and doing all the right things if you haven't been doing it. It's much easier to prevent than to treat.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want
And also, I mean, it's never too late to start on the healthy path. Never too late, but it is much easier. The sooner you start, the better, because your body will thank you for it. Once you're feeling ill, once you have got different conditions, it's harder for the body to recover. But of course you can, but it's better to start early and help the body to stay healthy, to maintain itself.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, let's dig into wheatgrass a little bit. And I got all kinds of questions for you. And if any of them are violating trade secrets, feel free to just say, oh, that,
No, I'm absolutely
we,
happy
we
with
don't want to raise up any competition or anything like that. But
that.
you're doing it very different than everyone else. Where I get my wheatgrass juice from, they're growing it in trays. Tell me what you're doing and why.
Yeah, yeah. So we grow it outside on organic fields, and the reason for that is, and this is all done by research, independent universities, that you actually end up with almost 50%, 48% more chlorophyll. So it's simply much, much darker green. The darker green, the more chlorophyll. So almost half the amount more of chlorophyll when you grow it outside. And that's because the sun can come to it. It grows much, much slower than if it's in a greenhouse. It's actually hyper accelerated. It grows too fast because it's warmer, it's more humid, and it's actually not where the wheat plant is usually naturally growing. So it's an artificially hot and humid environment, and that's why it grows so much faster. It grows in a greenhouse for about 10 days, 14 days. Whereas outside on the organic fields, it will grow up to 2 to 3 months. So it's much, much slower. Also, it has about 30% more antioxidants. So the roots go right into the soil, into this amazing organic soil, and then it takes up all the nutrients, all the minerals, and so on. And in that whole process of absorbing the light, the natural sunlight, you get many more nutrients, and you don't get the sugars, which is really interesting because it has time to convert those sugars to natural nutrients. So there are no sugars. It tastes more like green tea. It's not sweet at all. Also, because it grows outside and you have the wind and the natural weather conditions, you also don't get any molds. So if it's in the greenhouse, it's too close an environment, it's too humid, and you end up with a situation of mold. We don't have that. So it's just a more natural, healthier, more secure and safe product to take. But it takes longer. So you need to have the patience to wait 2 to 3 months. And we do. That's why we do it like this.
Interesting. And you did answer the question. I was wondering if there was a taste difference because and I saw the color, the side by side demonstration you did on one of your YouTube videos of how much darker green what you have is. And color is nutrients. It's, flavor and aroma are nutrients. They come from nutrients. The more pale, typically, the less nutritious it is for you and the less flavor it has. So you answered the question in that it tastes different as well. Doesn't just look different.
Yes, it does. And so you just don't have that sweetness at all. And when you take it and it's been grown in greenhouse, you can actually get a little bit nauseous from the high level of sugar and actually also from the molds. And there's can be a little bit of a limit to how much you can actually take because of that, how much you can drink. Whereas with ours, there is no limitation like that. You don't get any side effects. It's just you just drink it and it just gives you that energy and that real feel good factor. There are no side effects. You don't get that at all.
I want to experience that and put it to the test because I know what you're talking about. I've consumed so much wheatgrass juice that there's like almost like a little burning in the stomach, like a little heartburn almost going on and a pain, a heaviness. But I was cautioned not to have that much, and
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to
Well, maybe,
see
maybe
what.
we will maybe we'll explore a way that we can work together, and you can offer this in the US. We'll see. We'll take. I'd love to
We'll send a frozen pallet. We'll get a whole pallet frozen, shipped here,
yeah,
and then
why not?
directly from Haley Nutrition to our customers that are getting the
Yeah, that
aloe.
would be fun. That would be fun.
We could look into it. It could probably happen.
I
We'll
would
look at
love
the
that. I
logistics
would
of it.
love that. I think it'll be great fun. And the two products, as you know, the aloe vera and the wheatgrass juice go really hand in hand. They complement each other. It's a great combo.
Yeah, they are the top two things that were recommended at Hippocrates and Hippocrates Health Institute is here in West Palm Beach using our aloe vera. That's what they have in their store, and that's what they're shipping to their customers. Um, when you harvest wheatgrass grown in a field, I know that in the trays, they're kind of clipping them with scissors, and then they take everything that's left over and it goes into a compost pile, and then they start over with new soil. What are you doing to harvest the wheatgrass grown in a field? I mean, you just run it over with a lawnmower? How does that work?
No, we have very specialized harvesting equipment. And the reason for that is that we need to harvest it very carefully so that we don't bruise the grass. So if you just use like a lawnmower, you would bruise the grass. And then, when you then start the production and actually you want to wash it and so on, you get a soggy product and it's not the same at all. So you want to cut it very gently. And so this harvesting machine we have will cut the grass almost like scissors. And then that will obviously then collect the grass. And now it's completely, cut grass like that hasn't been bruised. And then we put it into our juicer, and the juicer is very specialized as well because it almost wrings the juice out. So it sort of comes like that because you can't just put it into a normal juicer because you can imagine there's so little juice inside and it looks like grass, but it's obviously the wheat
Right.
sprout. But there's very little juice in there. So just to put it through a normal juicer wouldn't work. So it has to be a very specialized juicer that sort of wrings the juice out like that. And that gets then collected and put into these little sachets and then instantly frozen so that it's live. It's got all the enzymes in it, all the nutrients in it, organic and ready to put into your freezer. And the idea is that we ship it frozen. So it's a guaranteed frozen next day delivery. And then you can just put it in your freezer. And when you're ready, you just take it out. And then it's like you actually grew and juiced it yourself.
Oh, I want some so bad. You have no idea. As a thank you for tuning into the DrHaley Show podcast, I have a special coupon code that can be used throughout the month of August 2025. Get 10% off your purchase at HaleyNutrition.com. The coupon code is August10. That's AUGUST10. And as usual, you can even use this coupon with on sale and already discounted bundled items. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. I can't just make wheatgrass juice because I have one of those twin gear juicers, the stainless steel gears. And the problem is if I keep on feeding the wheatgrass, eventually it clogs the juicer. So what I have to do is put in so much grass and then so many carrots or something else that will help clean the gears, sort of, and push the fiber through. And then I can add more wheatgrass. But if I feed too much wheatgrass continuously, it just gets a big jam. And I was thinking there must be some kind of industrial, maybe maybe a twin gear machine that was, just really commercial with a car engine or something driving the gears.
Yes. Yeah.
It's tough
Obviously,
stuff,
our
hard to
juicer
do.
is really large. It's a very, very large, and it's specialized for us. We've had it made specially for us, and and I think we are the only ones that have such a big machine. So it's really lovely. One thing I wanted to mention, because sometimes people think when we say wheatgrass, ooh, I can't have wheatgrass because it's full of wheat. But that's not the case. So because it's just the little sprouts at this height when it's nutritionally most rich, that's way before the wheat has actually grown into the yellow plant, where at the top you actually have what you then harvest and you grind and you get the bread from it, and it's in that top part where you get the wheat and the gluten. That's many, many weeks after, when we just have the green sprouts. So there is no wheat, no gluten. Instead, actually, because of the nutrients that it contains, it actually really helps and supports stomach health and digestion.
Yeah. Let's talk about the wheat berry, because you're growing wheatgrass from more than one wheat berry. What are your favorites? Why did you choose them?
So we have over along obviously many years now, the company is 16 years old, found the berry that is the best one for us and for what we want to do. Is obviously organic, and it is one that is quite high in protein, which is important for us, so that people naturally get protein in it, plant protein, and actually, grows really well in the soil that we have, and so on. So, but for people who like to grow it themselves, I mean, they can go to a health food store and buy the wheat berries and actually plant them. And of course, I would recommend they plant them outside in the garden and experiment with that. Of course, that can be done.
Yeah, but aren't you doing barley grass juice and
Yes.
another?
Yes, we have barley grass juice as well. I believe we are one of the very few companies in the world, if not the only company in the world, that also offers barley grass juice. And so it's a grain, is the barley grass, and again, same process, the sprout that we then cut. And barley grass is quite similar. It's the same family as wheatgrass. But it's slightly different. It has slightly different amino acids, slightly different enzymes. So they complement each other. There's also an interesting story where actually, as I said, it was Dr. Schnabel from the US who discovered in the 1940s wheatgrass. But actually, it was barley grass was discovered by a Japanese doctor and pharmacist in the 1960s. So that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of research that has been done on both, but they're actually coming from different parts of the world, but they very much complement each other.
Okay, interesting. Now, once you harvest the wheatgrass, do you have to till the ground and reuse it again? How does that work?
Yeah, so this obviously we do organic farming. So once we have grown the wheatgrass and harvested, yes, then we prepare the soil, but also we do what you need to do in organic. We then change to other vegetables. We grow different things on the fields. Sometimes, we let the fields rest. And that's all part of the much more kind of sensitive way that organic farming works. But we will be rotating the crop. It's really important so that we nurture the soil. Also, for example, we can grow red clover on the fields, and red clover is a natural way of enriching the soil. So there are different ways of doing it when you don't want to fertilize, with artificial fertilize or pesticides and all those sort of things. There is the traditional organic way of doing it.
Okay, that makes sense. And for, when it comes to soil, people don't realize that it's alive. And
Yes.
in a lot of the farms today, they're using chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. And these are things that are designed to kill, and they don't nurture the soil. And the things that grow in them often need fertilizer because the soil is dead. And when I say dead, I mean there's no bugs in it, there's no bacteria, there's no worms, there's no creatures. And these creatures consume the things that are on the ground and essentially poop it out. And the poop is soil.
Yes.
The poop
Yes.
is the fertilizer.
Yes. It's organic
And
matter. That's right. It's organic
you,
matter. Yeah.
you're describing a like regenerative type of farming where the soil stays good.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And that's really key for us. We're very passionate about protecting our planet. And the way you do that, part of the way you do that is absolutely protecting and supporting and nurturing the soil. And it is the soil that obviously all our foods grow in. And, when we are eating meat, then obviously all the cattle, well, they eat the plants that is also in the soil. So to ensure that we have healthy soil is so, so important. And, yeah, we're quite passionate about that. And it tastes better. And obviously, it has many more nutrients, because that's one of the things when we have that sort of industrial, hyper, effective way of producing food that we now have compared to in the 1950s, where the soil is not let to rest, when we are not have that kind of crop rotation, when we just feed the artificial fertilizers and pesticides, then you end up in a situation where you really don't want to be, where you are struggling because actually the vegetables don't contain the amount of vitamins and minerals and amino acids that organic, healthy vegetables actually contain. And it's interesting because when you ask, as a piece of research where people were asked, do you think that you have all the nutrients, the vitamins and the minerals in your body that you need? And about 70 to 80% of people said, yes, I think so. I eat well and healthily. But it turns out that when you actually measure what people have in their bodies, only 5 to 10% of us actually have the level of vitamins and minerals and amino acids that we really need for optimal health. And part of that, a big
Wow.
part of that reason, is because our vegetables, when we eat them, don't contain the amount of nutrients that they should and that they used to.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll never know what it was like in the Garden of Eden before man started making, radiation and all the chemicals in the air and the acid rain and burning fossil fuels and things that are polluting the environment. And even in the best organic setting, we're being exposed to these things, which is all the more why we need the detoxifying, nutritious superfoods in our life to compensate for that. We probably need more than what's considered normal. You probably don't want to test normal for your blood, but above normal. So
Yeah.
when you talk about people being deficient, we're probably all deficient because of things outside our control. What are some of the challenges that you learned in this business that you didn't see? Or what are some things that you've learned about what the competition does? And I'll give you an example. In the case of aloe vera, most of it comes from one of 4 farms in the United States. Most of the aloe, there's 4 big aloe vera farms. And they make these big, like IBC containers full of aloe vera. And I never realized that they pasteurize it and then hot fill it in those plastic containers that they ship to the United States. Or if they come in the 55-gallon drums, they're in plastic bags and they hot fill into the plastic before shipping it to the United States. And then the place in the United States, there's like one big company that kind of buys from the different farmers, whatever's available, and then they ship it to the different aloe vera companies that reprocess, probably repasteurize, add their own new set of preservatives. So now you got 2 sets of preservatives. And I would say that's one of the dirty little things that we see in the industry. What are some things that you've learned, whether it's dirty tricks in farming or in the organic food industry, that you didn't realize and that you said, hey, we can do this better?
I think for me, it is realizing that when it's grown in trays in a greenhouse, or in the wheatgrass or the barley grass is grown in trays in the greenhouse, that they actually can contain mold and it contains these sugars. When I was buying, actually, in the very, very beginning, I was testing out the competitors and just buying in from them. And I actually got physically ill physically sick from drinking this wheatgrass juice from the greenhouse. And what they had done is, instead, obviously it's not even grown in soil, they grow it in a tray, and often there is not even any soil, and they liquid feed it. And by doing that, it's so artificial, and that was interesting for me. That was a real eye-opener, and I was just so happy to realize, oh my gosh, I'm glad it's not mine tasting like that. I'm glad it's not, I'm not getting that effect from anything that I'm producing, because I would absolutely not do that. That was really surprising for me, and not something I knew beforehand, that it has such a big impact. And you can actually, when you see the tray grown, you can see the mold on there. When you pick it up, you can actually see the mold on there. That is concerning, I think. The other thing I think is the powdered products. And I said, I'm not, it's not that they're bad for you, anything like that. And obviously they are healthy. It's just that they are not live, and you cannot control the quality of it. It comes from all different countries, including Far East and China and all sorts of places. So it's not locally grown, it's not grown and quality control checked, and so on and so forth. So the varying qualities, I think, can be quite concerning.
Wow. Well, this has been very informative for me. Is there anything I should have asked you that we didn't cover that you would like to share?
Well, I would love to, obviously, for your listeners to try it. And I mean, you have listeners all over the world. So, I'd love to start shipping in the US. And maybe that's one of the things we'll explore, Mike, together. But in the meanwhile, I'd love people to, on our website, britsuperfoods.co.uk. No doubt you'll have a link underneath. But mention Dr. Haley. DrHaley in the message box, and we will add 2 weeks extra free juice with it. So there is something extra as a thank you for having listened to this presentation, and I'd love to support that.
That's great. And thank you for doing that for my listeners. I'd like to add to that to anyone listening that has questions that they wish I had asked. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a comment section. I'll make sure that Dr. Cordi gets the questions so she can answer them. And we're going to explore the possibility of getting large frozen amounts sent to me here in Florida so that I can ship them to our people in the United States. We'll look into the possibilities, and if it makes sense, let's make it happen.
Thank you.
Dr. Cordi, thank you so much.
It's been lovely, and thank you for having me. It's been lovely. Really enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed that episode today on the Dr. Haley Show. Make sure to hit subscribe on whichever platform you are listening to this. If this episode made you think of someone, go ahead, take a screenshot, and share this exact episode with them. You can catch the show notes for this episode on www.drhaley.com. If you want to geek out with Dr. Michael Haley on other radical health topics, be sure to check out his YouTube channel, where he posts exclusive video content. All the details are at www.drhaley.com, and we can't wait to hang out with you on the next episode.